Bandidos, what's up? Hey, the First Descendant just gave us a way to create truly unique weapon setups that fit your playstyle. You can make your weapons hit harder, fire faster, or even boost your movement and mobility, which I think is pretty cool. So today we're going to be diving into the game's new weapon core unlock system, and I'm breaking down the weapons that completely shake things up with their unlockable abilities. Now, if the thought of learning yet another system makes you want to slam your face into your keyboard, I get it. But relax, I've got your back. We're gonna simplify it, make it easy to understand, and show you how to tackle the grind without it feeling like a second job. So no fluff, no BS, let's do this.
Wait, did we just become best friends? So nice to meet you, I think you're cool.
Here's the deal. The weapon core unlock system lets you supercharge your ultimate weapons to hit harder, fire faster, and perfectly fit your playstyle. And with this new feature, a few weapons really stand out for their unique, downright OP abilities. So to make things easy on you, I've put together a downloadable cheat sheet that highlights the standout weapons. Find the link down below in your Hurt Locker. We're going to run through that, discuss farming key materials too. But first, let's break into the nuts and bolts of the weapon core unlocking system. Let's go ahead and answer this question. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Players are already saying the buffs are no joke, turning weapons that were collecting dust into absolute monsters. But here's the thing, it's not a free ride. You'll need to put in some work to unlock these powerful upgrades. So let's start with the basics and break it all down. All right, so step one for you new players, you need to make sure you hit Mastery rank 18. If you're not there yet, just grind it out because you need to unlock a subquest called Disseminating Response Policy to the Void Anomalies. Yeah, I know, longest quest name ever. Just talk to the robot teacher to kick off the next steps and NPC Deslin after that, and you're good to go. So basically, hit 18, do the quest, talk to this guy, easy. Next, you'll need a level 100 ultimate weapon. If you're wondering where to start, the community favorites for core unlocking are the Secret Garden, the Volsha, the Enduring Legacy, the Smithereens, and the Thunder Cage. My advice, start with the weapon you use the most. For me, it was the Secret Garden because it pairs perfectly with Inez, who's really hot right now. After that, I went for the Perforator, since it's my go-to for Sharon, Lepic, and Haley. All right, let's make this stupid simple. So every weapon has 5 core slots. Think of these as tiny little gear slots for your gun. You unlock all 5 cores at once with a core binder. That's your golden ticket. You only need to do this once per weapon. Here's the deal. The combination of the 5 core slots are unique to each weapon, but the possible types are firepower, hit, attribute, tactical, precision, special, and free. So to boost one of your stats, you need to match an augmentation core to the correct core slot type. For example, a firepower augmentation core can only be equipped into a firepower core slot. The exception? That's the free slot, which lets you slap on any core you want. It's basically the wild card of core slots. One catch, this is an RNG-based system. What you get is chance-based, but the possible stats are always tied to the core type. So no matter what weapon you're upgrading, the stat options stay the same, but the range depends on the quality of the augmentation core. Bottom line, higher quality core equals better stats. Cool? Cool. All right, if you don't get the stat you want or just want to upgrade the value, you can reapply another augmentation core to the same slot. But here's the catch with that. You'll need a core particle disruptor to do it. Yes, that's your third element. So far we have core binders, augmentation cores, and core particle disruptors. Okay, so with this, every reroll costs 1 augmentation core and 1 core particle disruptor. Here's the kicker. There's no guarantee you'll get what you're looking for. You might end up with a different stat from the same category, the exact same stat you already have, or worst case scenario, a stat with an even lower value. So after you rolled the dice, if you hate the new stat that it gives you, tough luck. You still burnt through the resources. Yeah, it's a gamble. So here's a list of the possible, but all of these are displayed on screen in the system itself. So you don't need to really have a cheat sheet on this or memorize these or anything like that because they're there displayed conveniently for you throughout the process. Now let's talk about these augmentation cores you put onto your weapon. Augmentation core items come in tiers like Roman numerals, 1, 2, 3, etc. And higher tiers mean better stats. Currently the highest is 7, but we expect that to go up in the February patch. So just equip one and boom, your weapon gets juiced up with effects tied to the core's type. So because of the way the system works, it's going to make sense to always use the highest value augmentation core in your inventory, leaving the lower quality cores lingering. In the near future, the devs are going to give players the ability to merge augmentation cores for high quality versions. Details on that are pending, so I'll let you know when I know more. So let's talk about where to find the stuff you need. So core binders come from crafting. You'll need Void Abyss metal fragments. Yeah, I know, another material. You get these from Void Intercept battles or infiltration operations. So to craft a core binder is going to cost you 2,000 fragments. And yes, that is considered a lot. Core particle disruptors, same deal. Craft them after collecting Void Abyss fragments. These only require 15 fragments. So these are cheap by comparison. Now, augmentation core items are a little bit different. You're gonna farm these throughout the Void Erosion Purge. So the higher difficulty or stage, for example, stage 20, equals higher tier loot. So you're more likely to get cores that are level 6 and 7, etc. You know the drill. So the TLDR, grind Void Abyss bosses, 400% infiltrations, and the Purge. Craft your stuff, unlock your cores, and profit. Got it? Good. Okay, now let's quickly run through one of these together. So the weapon we'll use in this example will be the Volsha. So it displays what cores are available to unlock. It needs one core binder to do so, and the weapon needs to be level 100. Now it's unlocked. So now that we have all of our cores unlocked, we can go through them one by one and put on the stats that we desire. So at the bottom here, we have special augmentation. And so this purple symbol is going to match up with the purple symbols here. So these are the possible choices. But when you click on it, it's going to narrow in on that. Now we know. Here are my inventory of augmentation cores that I've collected from the Purge. We want to start with the highest and consume all of those first because they're going to give us a chance at the better side of these stats. The max possible is 290 at my current stage. Let's go ahead and click this. It's going to consume one, and we got Legion of Darkness, and that's actually what I wanted because I think the Legion of Darkness are the ones that are in the Void Vessel, right? If I decided I wanted to gamble and try to get a higher stat, I can click another core and then roll the dice. But this time, because I'm re-rolling the same stat that already has the core value, I'm going to need to also apply the core particle disruptor. It's going to consume that automatically. So I'm okay with this stat until we break into higher tiers, which will come into February. Next is tactical augmentation. So these are the possible options. Now for this weapon, I'd actually be looking for reload time modifier or rounds per magazine. That's because I know this rifle really well. The reload is sort of painfully slow, and I have mods on the weapon to counter that. So if I do a reload time modifier here, that could free up a mod on my weapon for something like more damage. Otherwise, rounds per magazine, sort of the same thing, less reloading, whatever. Just like before, we're gonna go for the highest value, which is Roman numeral 7 of the augmentation core. So I got rounds per magazine at 70%, and I'll hold there for now. Attribute augmentation, this is going to be fire, chill, electric, and toxic. Probably go for chill on this weapon. Electric is also fine, I'll take that. So fire, I don't want that. So now we're gonna re-roll this one, and that's gonna give us chill at 83%. So you can confirm or you can keep your existing, but either way it ate your resources. So if you wanna stay, you can. So we got 83% out of a possible 96% firepower augmentation. So this one's simple. We only have firearm attack or bonus firearm attack versus Colossus. So I don't use this against Colossus. We're gonna go ahead and take firearm attack and try to get peak. And perfect, we got 31%. And the peak is 34. So close enough for me, not really worth eating the resources for a couple of percent at this stage. So the next one's free. So what are you gonna do? For this one, I'd probably take more base firearm damage since some of the Descendants I use this weapon on are not crit based, so that will be useful for us. And we didn't get it. Try again. And we got firearm attack versus Colossus again. And there we go. So we got 34 out of a possible 34. So very lucky there. Do we want to change rounds per magazine to faster reload? I think I do. The reload sucks on it. Fire rate doesn't really help. Charge speed. Ooh, we got a God rolled rounds per magazine. Now I'm tempted to keep it. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and keep it because that's a really good roll. So it's that simple. So the next step, depending on where your build is at, is you can come through and optimize based on your cores. So since we picked up a bigger mag, I can remove one of these bigger mags. And I'll do this later. It does give us an option to unequip this and replace it with more damage. And that's the power of the core system. It's not just the core stat that it gives you, but also the option to reconfigure your mod mods for even more power or whatever you're looking for. So every weapon has 5 cores to unlock, right? But the core configuration is unique to each weapon. So I went through all of the ultimate weapons to identify the ones with the right cores to enhance their natural characteristics, whether it's the weapon type, capabilities, playstyle, or even the descendant who typically wields it. Then I sorted them into 3 tables based on their common min-max potential. Let's be clear, this doesn't take mods into account. This is purely about how the core system interacts with the weapon's base stats. One important thing to note, core elements like mag size and RPM aren't going to transfer over to a descendant's unique weapon. For example, adding a larger mag to the perforator isn't going to do anything for Haley's Zenith sniper. So the 3 categories we're looking at are speed, rate of fire, and mag size, and then most interesting weapons. So here's the breakdown. Speed covers sprint speed and grappling cooldown speed. Weapons with the right cores to min-max these stats are in the yellow table. So base sprint speed is the same for all weapons at 800, but overall movement speeds are variable for the weapons. So while cores only affect sprint speed, I've ranked weapons based on which would make you the fastest overall. And those top 3 weapons are seriously impressive, especially the Peacemaker. It's the standout here. It works well on a few descendants, but it's popularized by Bobby. She's already fast, but with this weapon, wow, she's gonna be next level if you roll into its speed capabilities. The Python is another great pick. It's a solid bossing weapon and pairs beautifully with Bobby also for raw speed. And the Clairvoyance is going to be a gem for Viesa's Absolute Zero build. It shines against heavies and bosses, and since Viesa is naturally quick, this weapon gives her an even sharper edge. So if you're all about speed or need a weapon that perfectly complements your descendant's strengths in this area, these are the ones to watch out for. So the green table focuses on the weapons that have the potential to min-max fire rate and mag size to the highest potential. We have the Last Dagger, the Excava, the Albion Cavalry, Greg's Restored Relic, and the Perforator. I've listed both base stats there for you to reference. I gotta say, the top 3 are really interesting here. So the Excava especially is the electric assault rifle that's really not being used. It's sort of underwhelming or kind of meh. If you roll into that base rate of fire of 588 with 4 cores, you're gonna get something seriously fast. And that's really going to lift the DPS on that weapon. The Last Dagger is also really interesting here. Its base rate of fire is 600, and you can roll 3 cores into lifting that rate of fire. You have the Albion Cavalry, which is a really good crowd control LMG. And both directions are great, base mag or rate of fire, depending on who you use it with most. If you're gonna run it with Haley, I recommend a larger mag. If you're gonna run it with Glay, then I recommend higher rate of fire. If you run it with both, then lean towards rate of fire so you get the most out of your cores. Okay, the red table are the most interesting weapons to create something really creative or possibly OP. This is orientated a little bit different. So you have the weapon on the right. The goal, what stands out to make this weapon interesting based on the cores that they give us. So the goal is what you'd be attempting to improve. And then on the left are the cores that you would focus on in order to reach that goal. So the Last Dagger, for example, is a weapon that's really underutilized. Not many people use this weapon or even talk about it, but all 5 cores that are provided can be rolled into improving its DPS. So if you run 2 firepower cores into attack speed and then 3 into tactical for a higher rate of fire, you have all DPS going into the Last Dagger. And then we already talked about the Excava, but it's definitely on this list. You can roll all 4 cores into tactical to get a higher RPM. Now the Albion Cavalry, we also talked about this in 1 degree, which is rolling 3 tacticals on it for an increase in RPM. But the Albion Cavalry also is the only weapon that allows you to get 3 hit cores, which means you can improve its crit chance or crit damage or a combination of. And that's really interesting because the Albion Cavalry can stun enemies, and that's based on crit. So if you're running this with Haley, you might want to roll into crit damage since she's already providing a lot of crits for you there. If you're running this with Glay, then maybe you put on crit chance. If you're running it with both, I'd put a little bit to crit chance and most of it into crit damage. All right, then there's the Python. It's got a very high RPM, and you can make it even faster by rolling 2 into to tactical. That's really interesting because if you put this on Balbi, you can have some very nice clear times against void bosses. And then there's the Peacemaker we talked about for mostly Balbi by putting 3 precisions into speed, and then the Clairvoyance 3 precisions into speed. And then there's the Thunder Cage, which has an RPM of 666. Interesting. But you can run 2 tacticals to get that even faster, and that's a great mobbing weapon. One we haven't talked about yet is the King's Guard. It's the only one that has 3 firepower capabilities, so you can build up a nice base damage. And last but not least, we have the Restored Relic, and I would recommend putting a goal to have a larger mag, and you could run 3 tacticals. Now you could also increase your RPM. I think this is tempting for a lot of people to run with Glaive because she doesn't need to reload it, and then that takes care of the ammo situation with these high power weapons. But I also run this with Enzo even before they buff the high power rounds situation. So he gives you unlimited ammo through his kit, and the weapon already has a really fast reload time relatively. Plus launchers have the ability to tuck and roll for a reload, so you don't even have to reload. Either way, I like the Restored Relic with Enzo. Go with what you love to do. And if you decide to go with Glade, then go into RPM using the same 3 tactical cores. So again, there's a download link below so you can take this with you. Real fast, let me give you some quick tips about farming. There's the Void Erosion Purge, and this is where you're gonna get all of your cores, right? As you work your way up, your core quality is going to increase. You can go from 1 to 2 to 3. When you get to the higher stages, you're gonna start getting 7, right around 18, 19, and 20, somewhere up here. If you're proficient, then the world's your oyster. But level 19 seems to be the best one for me to farm. Listen, you don't need to over farm these cores. I have found for the most part, just getting to level 20 gave me enough level 7 cores to do everything that I needed to do, unless you're gonna go crazy and start leveling all your weapons up. I've looked at all these weapons. I don't see any hurry to unlock all of their cores. Strongly suggest taking your time and not overly farming this system, because I do believe the devs are going to round it off and make it a little bit easier to farm. They already have done so when it comes to the Void metallic fragments. There are 2 ways to get the fragments. One is from the Void Intercept Battle Defiler. So he's going to give you somewhere anywhere between like the high 40s, 48, let's just say 50, up to like close to 80, maybe with around 60, 65 being the average. And you can beat him in as low as 35, 34 seconds if you're proficient. A minute is probably most people's average, especially if you're cheesing. So there are ways to cheese this boss, very safe ways to fight him, and you will clear him 100% of the time, but averaging a minute versus 30 seconds. The other way to collect these is through infiltrations, which are going to give you 40 per run. Not bad, but still 50 runs on an infiltration to get 2,000 of those fragments is going to be a little bit annoying, right? So you use these fragments to research the core. You're going to get 1 core for free just by completing the quest, and so you can break into the system. But from there, you're going to farm. The devs are also giving us high quantities of metal fragments through the New Year's event. So we've already received 2,000 from the New Year's event. I believe there's another 1,000 out there. So all you have to do to get those is just log in, and the login windows are really short. So just make sure you're logging in over the next couple of days, every day. So this is where the real grind is going to be. It's not going to be in the purge. So there you have it. The weapon core unlock system for the First Descendant explained without making your brain melt. Hit rank 18, grab the right weapon, unlock the cores, and roll the dice for upgrades. Like this video if it helped, sub if you want more, and let me know in the comments how badly your first Defiler fight went. If you haven't been in there, spoiler, it's brutal when you start up against that guy. All right, catch you next time.
Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm Tuxedo Bandido, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on the good stuff I have coming for you. And if you like content like this, be sure to check out the video I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you would like me to cover, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make things possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be the same without you.
When you buy or download anything for the First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Wait, did we just become best friends?